The way we interact with technology is changing. The rise of personal assistants like Alexa, Siri, Google Assistant and Cortana means the way we conduct online searches is changing too. It matters because paid online search is a massive business.
Paid search represents about 48% of the entire digital marketing budgets globally at the moment, and that equates to about $92 billion. So really any movement in the paid search ecosystem will have serious ramifications on both the supply side as well as the buy side. At the moment we're predicting about 1.2 billion voice-activated devices, not including smartphones, by 2021. So we're going to see serious escalation in the number of devices that are voice-activated or voice-enabled. The second thing that's really important with the impact of voice on the paid search market is the experience. The experience is getting much better. The error rate back in 2012 was at 30%. If you go back now, you look at those numbers now, the error rate has come down to below 5%. What that means is that voice is starting to have a meaningful impact and changing the way that people interact with computers.
That change leaves marketers with a bit of a headache. With traditional searches, you enter a query, get presented with a list of most likely suitable web pages to help with your search with a sprinkling of adverts. That can all change with voice search.
Where you have a single voice input and a single voice output, it will radically change how marketers need to think about their kind of search strategy, because it is winner takes all. It is slightly less democratic because the machine is making the decision based on what it understands about you.
With just one response often being returned, isn't there a danger advertisers just buy their way to the top of the list?
You can't buy into voice search at the moment. Google, Apple, Amazon, what they're interested in is brilliant user experience, and that comes before the advertising money, actually. Because if they don't have a good experience, people don't return to the platform.
The move to voice search is happening at a phenomenal rate.
We're predicting that 50% of all search queries will come from voice by 2020.
And the stats could be music to the ears of retailers.
20% of people using voice activation and voice search are using it for narrow, repeatable queries that, high frequency. So what's the weather today? What's the traffic light on my route to work? But what's really interesting is that we also found 25% of people using voice are using it with some form of purchase intent behind it. So where's this shop? Or a question about a product or a service. So that 25% of people with purchase intent we expect to increase and probably double to 2020.
Research by iProspect shows that voice searches are different to typed searches, and that has a big impact on advertisers.
So some of the changes that we're starting to see are a longer tail of keywords versus desktop or mobile. The average keyword on desktop is 1 to 3, whereas when you're speaking a query, it's actually 9. So this really kind of transforms how advertisers need to think about their keyword strategy and what they want to associate themselves with.
But voice search is making an impact in other ways too. It potentially opens up whole new sectors to marketers.
If you think about an audience segment that can't read and therefore can't type a query, really young people, for example, it suddenly opens up search to an audience below the age of 5 who previously could never type a query into a web page. You can then transpose that into countries where literacy rates are really low. It also opens up the much older audience age bracket. And the interesting point here is you've got a whole segment of the population globally who are incredibly short-sighted, who actually can't see a computer screen and therefore can't type a query into Google or Alexa or into Amazon search box. So it opens up really interesting new audience opportunities, I think, across the spectrum.
What could help voice search really take off is personalisation.
I think in this market where it's winner takes all and personalisation becomes really important on the user side, it also becomes incredibly important on the platforms that are providing that experience to make it more customised, and depending on what they know about that user. So thinking again about the younger audiences, should probably have some different voice feedback versus older audiences, and obviously that might also change depending on where you are in the country, depending on the dialects, all those kind of things.
With Google revealing that 20% of searches are already being done by voice, what can marketers do to ensure they aren't missing out?
I think brands need to think about voice activation in three key ways. The first is understanding how voice impacts different segments of your audience at different stages of the purchase path. I think the second key thing that brands need to consider is how they make their existing content more readily available for these voice search engines. So one of the key things that a brand should be looking at the moment with their existing content is structuring it using something called schema markup, which is a new categorization of website content that enables the voice search engines to extract the information better from your website. And the third, and probably one of the most important things, is that brands now need to think about a much longer tail of keywords to associate themselves with, because people talk queries with many more words than they type queries, which opens up a much longer tail of keywords for brands to associate themselves with.
Hello, I'm James Wright. Thanks for watching Marketing Media Money. To check out more online videos, just click on the boxes and don't forget to subscribe to the CNBC Live channel at the bottom of the screen.